IGCSE. Today we will look at eye as a sense organ. We will refresh what are the sense organs we have in our human body. We talk of the eye, which is one of the important organs, the ear, the tongue, the nose, the skin. Now all these 5 sense organs are sensitive to, and they respond. Ear respond to sound. The tongue always respond to taste. The eye is very, very sensitive to light, and we see objects because it acts as a sensory organ. Skin is sensitive to touch, temperature, etc. Then the nose is sensitive to smell. Now we look at this eye. Visualize now the structure of the eye, because you have done this before. Visualize in your mind the structure of the eye. Now you can see the eye is a sense organ, and different tissues work together to perform one function. You know the parts of the eye. If you think of the parts, we know the cornea. Now cornea, you should know the function of it. What does it do? It allows light to pass through into the eye, and then the lens is there which refracts light and focus it onto the retina in the eye. Then only you will see the object that you are looking at. Now retina contains light sensitive cells. Now the retina has light sensitive cells. You know that there are 2 types of cells, rods and cones, which are sensitive to black and white. Others are sensitive to colored light. We say cornea and lens focus the light onto the retina. If light doesn't enter the eye, it cannot focus onto the retina. So cornea is very, very important, because light has to pass through and refract through the lens and receive it on the retina. Tough outer coat, sclera, that is the outer coating of the eye, which keeps the shape of the eye, Sclera is very important. Iris is a muscular structure that adjusts the amount of light that is entering the eye. Iris is like a shutter. It controls the amount of light that pass through into your eyes. That depends on whether you are in a dark place or whether you are in a place where there is enough light. Now just imagine, you are walking into a picture palace, cinema. You are walking in from outside, and outside there is lot of bright light. Now what happens? Your iris has made this aperture small. What is this aperture that we talk of? That is the pupil. So pupil, the size of the pupil is controlled by the iris. So you can see the amount of light that goes through depends on the iris, which controls the size of the pupil. When you walking, from outside, your pupil is small because there is very much bright light. So the pupil becomes small. As you are walking into the cinema, you can't see anything. You can see you have to hold the table, the chairs around and go and sit somewhere. Then only after some time you begin to see the objects around you. So this experience you have, you know it. Now we'll see what is accommodation. Now see, accommodation is the process of producing a finely focused image. Where is this focused? It is focused onto the retina. You can see nearby objects, you can see distant objects. But you should be able to see the same way very clearly, whether you are looking at an object which is far or which is very close. You can see is the process of producing a finely focused image on the retina. It is carried out by the action of the ciliary muscles of the lens. Now, if you look at these diagrams, you can see this. The light is coming from a distant object. Light is coming from a distant object and pass through the lens and focusing it onto the retina. Now you can see the lens here is thin. Lens is thin. Now you can look at this. The lens is broad. The light is coming from a nearby object. Light is coming from a nearby object. The light gets refracted when passing through the lens and focusing onto the retina, which gives a very clear image. Look at this, it is thin. The lens is thin. The light is coming from a very far object. Coming, get refracted and forming the image on the retina. That is what we say accommodation. Whether you look at a distant object or object which is clear, it accommodates. The eye can accommodate for you to see these objects. You can see this, the other one. Now see, muscles are relaxed. Ciliary muscles are relaxed. Here the ciliary muscles are contracting. When it contracts, the ciliary muscles are pulling the lens. So it becomes thin. Here you find the ciliary muscles relaxed. When it relaxes, the lens becomes thicker and broader. So the refraction is more here and the image is formed on the retina. Now this is how we manage to see distant objects and which are very close. Now we'll look at this pupil. In bright light, what happens? In bright light, the pupil becomes smaller. How is it happening? You must know the operation. What action is taking place here? Now you can see this. In bright light, pupil is small. In dim light, the pupil is bigger, enlarged. Here what happens is we have circular muscles and radial muscles in the iris. Circular muscles and radial muscles. The radial muscles relax. Radial muscles relax means when it relaxes, these muscles contract. Circular muscles contract. When these muscles contract, this becomes smaller. Pupil becomes smaller. So less light is entering through the pupil. If you look at this, in bright light, the radial muscles relax and circular muscles contract. The narrow the pupil, less light enters the eye. This protects the retina from damage. This is protecting the retina from damage because it doesn't allow too much of strong light into the eye. You have experience. When you are in too bright light, you try to close your eyes. Why? You don't want too much of light to enter the retina because it can damage your retina. Here you find the pupil is becoming bigger because you are in dim light. So you have to get the maximum light rays entering your eye. So it becomes bigger. Radial muscles contract. When the radial muscles contract, this iris is pulled to the edges, and this becomes bigger, and circular muscles relax to widen the pupil. More light enters the eye. This helps a person to see better in the dark. When you are in the dark, you can see it very clearly. Very clearly you can see. Now, I want to look at this. Now you are clear about it. When the circular muscles contract, the pupil becomes smaller, less light is entering. Here in dim light, the radial muscles contract and the pupil becomes wider and more light is entering your eye. Now you look at this. This diagram shows it very clearly. In bright light, what happens? The circular muscles contracts. This is shown in this diagram. In the case of dim light, the radial muscles contract and the pupil becomes bigger or wider. Now you know this working of the eye. You know all the parts, how it operates. Now we'll look at this question. You should refer to this question in your assignment. This question says, answer the following question, match the terms. There are 10 on this side, terms, and 10 definitions are there. So you match every term against the definition. We'll look at this retina. Look at the definitions you have. What are the definitions you have? Look at A. A you can match with what? A, where is A? Look at number 5. Look at number 5, the light sensitive layer in the eye. Light sensitive layer in the eye. What is that? It is the retina that we were talking of. Retina is the light sensitive layer in the eye. Then we look at B. What is B? Rods. Where do you get, what is the function of the rods? Receptors that are sensitive to low level of light. Receptors which are sensitive to low level of light. So connect this in your assignment. Then we look at C, cones. C is cones. What are cones? Look at this. What is the best matching definition? Receptors that can distinguish red from green and from blue. So those are the cones in your retina which matches the colors. Then we look at D, cornea. You know cornea. We have mentioned number of times cornea. D. Where is D now? Look at 10. Number 10. Transparent layer that reflects light. Not only reflects, it allows light to pass through, reflects and goes to the retina, focusing on to the retina. Transparent layer that refracts light. Look at the lens. E. What is the best definition for that? If you look at this, number 2, structures that adjust focusing light onto the retina. Focusing light onto the retina. Now, how is it focusing? Cornea allows light to enter, and the lens refracts light and focusing it onto the retina. So you can see the lens is matching with the item 2, structures that adjust focusing light onto the retina. Then we look at the optic nerve, F, optic nerve. What does it goes with? Matching with? Optic nerve carries sensory information to the visual association center. Where is this center? Carries messages to the brain through the optic nerve to the brain. Then we look at pupil. Pupil is exit point for the optic nerve. Pupil. Where is the pupil is G. Look at G, number 4. The opening that allows light to reach the retina. That is the opening that allows the amount of light to enter into the retina. Iris. Iris is H. Look at this iris. What is iris? Muscular structure. We know iris is a muscular structure that adjusts the amount of light entering the eye. Iris adjusts so that the correct amount of light enters the eye. Ciliary body. Ciliary body is eye, is muscular structure that allows accommodation. Now, I told you at the beginning, the shape of the lens is controlled by the ciliary muscles, depending on whether you are looking at distant objects or objects which are closer. Then we look at the blind spot. Blind spot is J, exit point for the optic nerve. Exit point for the optic nerve. That is the point that the retina leaves the eye, which we call the optic nerve. Optic nerve starts there, and we call that point the blind spot. If the image falls on that point, you can't see the image. Now, with this, we complete this lesson, and I want you to revise once again and be thorough with this structure of the eye, accommodation, how the pupil operates, because there are always questions coming in these areas. Okay, thank you very much. God bless you. Stay safe.